Alright, let's dive into a topic that's been making waves across the globe, and it's all centered around a single tweet from the U.S. Embassy in Delhi. Picture this, it's September 2025, and while the world is buzzing with images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Chinese President Xi Jinping sharing a warm moment at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) summit in Tianjin, China, the U.S. Embassy drops a tweet that's raised eyebrows everywhere. The tweet reads, "The partnership between the United States and India continues to reach new heights, a defining relationship of the 21st century." Now, the timing of this tweet is what's got everyone talking. It lands right as Modi, Putin, and Xi are seen laughing, chatting, and projecting unity, almost like a deliberate signal from Washington that says, "Hey, we're still in the game." This isn't just a casual social media post. It's a geopolitical statement, a reminder of the deep ties between the U.S. and India at a moment when India is cozying up with Russia and China. Let's unpack this, because the stakes here are massive, and the global power dynamics are shifting faster than you can scroll through X. The U.S.-India relationship has been called the defining partnership of the 21st century by multiple American presidents. Obama coined the phrase, Trump echoed it in his first term, and even Biden leaned into it. But right now, under Trump's second term, things are rocky, to put it mildly. The U.S. has slapped a staggering 50% tariff on Indian goods, largely as a jab at India's continued purchase of Russian oil, which the Trump administration claims is fueling Russia's war in Ukraine. These tariffs, which include a 25% base rate and an additional 25% penalty, have pushed U.S.-India relations to their lowest point in 25 years. It's a dramatic shift from the days when Modi and Trump were trading compliments and hosting massive rallies together, like that stadium-packed event in Houston back in 2019. So why this tweet now, and what does it mean in the context of this India, China, Russia troika forming in Tianjin? Let's dig deeper. The images coming out of Tianjin are powerful. Modi, Putin, and Xi walking together, sharing a laugh, even riding in the same car, an aura Senna gifted to Putin by China. It's not just optics, it's a signal of a potential realignment in global politics. India, traditionally a balancing act between East and West, is flexing its strategic autonomy. For years, India has maintained close ties with Russia, a special and privileged strategic partnership that's been unshaken by global pressures. It's also been warming up to China, especially after a 2020 border clash that killed 20 Indian and 4 Chinese soldiers, left relations frosty. But recent moves, like a border patrol agreement in 2024 and the resumption of direct flights and tourist visas, show a thaw accelerated by Trump's tariffs. India's presence at the SCO summit, alongside heavyweights like Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan, is a bold statement. It's saying, we're not picking sides, and we're not bowing to pressure. This is where the U.S. Embassy's tweet comes in, almost like a diplomatic chess move. The tweet, quoting Secretary of State Marco Rubio, emphasizes the enduring friendship between the U.S. and India, spotlighting innovation, defense, and people-to-people ties. It's a reminder that despite the tariff drama, the U.S. sees India as a critical partner, especially in countering China's influence in the Indo-Pacific through frameworks like the Quad, which includes the U.S., India, Japan, and Australia. But the timing is no accident. It's as if the State Department, which reports to Rubio, is trying to smooth over the damage done by Trump's trade hawks. People like Peter Navarro, Scott Bessent, and Kevin Hassett, who've been throwing verbal grenades at India. Navarro, for instance, called India Kremlin's laundromat and accused its oil purchases of funding Modi's war, while Bessent labeled India's actions as opportunistic arbitrage. These are not just trade disputes. They're deeply insulting to a nation that prides itself on its sovereignty and strategic independence. India's response? It's pushed back hard, calling the tariffs unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable, and pointing out the hypocrisy. After all, the U.S. and Europe still buy Russian fertilizers and chemicals, and China, the biggest buyer of Russian oil, hasn't faced similar penalties. The State Department's measured tone, as reflected in the tweet, feels like an attempt to hit the reset button to remind India that the broader U.S. establishment values the partnership, even if Trump's inner circle is playing hardball. Now let's zoom out and look at what's happening in Tianjin. The SCO summit isn't just a regional meeting, it's a platform for the global South to flex its muscle. Founded in 2001 by China, Russia, and Central Asian states, the SCO has grown to include India, Pakistan, Iran, and Belarus, representing 40% of the world's population and vast energy reserves. The summit's optics, Modi, Putin, and Xi together, are a deliberate message to the West: we're building a multipolar world, one not dominated by the U.S. or its allies. Modi's bilateral meetings with Putin and Xi are particularly significant. With Putin, Modi discussed deepening trade ties, exploring new corridors like the Vladivostok-Chennai route, and navigating sanctions by trading in national currencies. India's purchase of Russian oil, which it refines and sells globally, has been a lifeline for Moscow amid Western sanctions, but it's also stabilized global energy markets, a point India emphasizes. Modi also reiterated his stance that this is not an era for war, positioning India as a potential mediator in the Ukraine conflict. Trump's failed Alaska summit with Putin, where he hoped to broker a quick peace, has only heightened India's role. The U.S. wants India to pressure Putin, but India is not here to play messenger. It's carving out its own path. The meeting with Xi is equally telling. 5 years after the deadly Himalayan clash, India and China are mending ties, driven partly by shared frustration with Trump's tariffs. Xi called for India and China to be partners, not rivals, framing them as double engines of Asian economic growth. This language echoes Modi's domestic rhetoric, signaling a convergence of interests. Both nations face steep U.S. tariffs, India at 50%, China at up to 145%, and see an opportunity to align against Western pressure. Analysts suggest China is eager to pull India away from the U.S.-led Quad, and while India is not abandoning its Western ties, it's hedging its bets. The SCO summit, with its anti-hegemony rhetoric, is the perfect stage for this. So, what does this mean for the U.S.? The tweet from the Delhi embassy is a signal that Washington's not blind to what's happening. The State Department under Rubio is trying to salvage a relationship that's been battered by Trump's America First policies. The tariffs have done more than strain trade. They've created a trust deficit. India, once seen as a cornerstone of the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy, is now exploring closer ties with China and doubling down on its partnership with Russia. This isn't about India turning anti-Western, it's about strategic autonomy. India's always played the long game, refusing to be boxed into alliances. It's part of the Quad, but also a key player in BRICS and the SCO. It's buying Russian oil, but also negotiating trade deals with the U.S. This balancing act is what makes India a global heavyweight. But it's also what frustrates Washington. The Trump administration's aggressive tactics, tariffs, public insults, and singling out India while sparing China have backfired. Analysts like Yun Sun from the Stimson Center argue that Trump's policies have pushed India closer to China, a move that could undermine years of U.S. efforts to cultivate India as a counterweight to Beijing. The images of Modi, Putin, and Xi together aren't just optics, they're a warning. If the U.S. keeps alienating India, it risks losing a critical partner in the Indo-Pacific, where China's influence is growing. Europe, meanwhile, is watching nervously. The EU, sidelined at Trump's Alaska summit, sees the SCO's unity as a challenge to the Western-led order. But some analysts argue Europe's too caught up in its own issues, like the Ukraine war and internal divisions, to fully grasp the shift. The US and Europe aren't on the same page, and India is playing that to its advantage. What's the bigger picture here? It's not just about tariffs or tweets, it's about a world splitting into blocks. On one side, you've got the US and its allies pushing a rules-based order. On the other, you've got the global South, India, China, Russia, and others, building a multipolar system where economic growth and strategic autonomy trump ideological alignments. India is at the heart of this, a bridge between East and West, North and South. Modi's meetings in Tianjin aren't just about trade or peace in Ukraine. They're about positioning India as a global leader, one that can sit at the table with Putin and Xi while still engaging with Washington. The U.S. Embassy's tweet is a desperate attempt to keep that door open, to remind India that despite Trump's bluster, the U.S. wants to be a partner. But words alone won't cut it. If the U.S. wants to repair the damage, it'll need to rethink its approach. Less tariffs, less insults, and more collaboration. India's not going anywhere, but it's not waiting around either. So, what do you think? Is the U.S. Embassy's tweet a genuine olive branch or just damage control? And what does this India, China, Russia troika mean for the future of global power? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. Let's keep this conversation going.